Welcome to the Money Mindset and Habits podcast.
Great to be diving into this.
Today, we're really digging into something quite powerful, I think. This idea that money without purpose is always wasted.
Yeah, and that word purpose is key. It's not about, painful budgeting or telling yourself no all the time.
Not at all. It's more fundamental, isn't it? It's about, well, intention. Giving your money some actual direction.
Exactly. Because often the real struggle isn't necessarily about how much you earn.
Yeah.
Or even, blowing loads of cash on massive purchases.
Right. It can be much subtler. It's more about not having that clear map, like you said, for where the money should actually be going.
Like having a full tank of gas, but zero idea of the destination. You just drive around.
That's a great way to put it. And to really unpack this, we're looking at a story today about a guy named Leo.
Ah, yes. Leo's story is quite relatable, I think.
On the surface, Leo seemed okay, right? He had a decent job, bills were paid, the basics were covered.
Standard stuff.
Yeah.
But underneath all that, he had this persistent unease about his finances.
He felt he should be doing better, making more progress, maybe, but he couldn't quite put his finger on why he wasn't.
Yeah, that nagging feeling, like you're working hard, money's coming in, but you feel, I don't know, financially drained, even without a big crisis happening.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating about Leo's situation, from what we've seen, is that it wasn't the big ticket items causing this feeling.
No, not the fancy car or the huge holidays. It was more like what the source called a slow leak.
A slow leak. I like that term. What does that mean exactly?
Look, it's all those small, almost invisible expenditures.
Yeah.
Things that seem totally insignificant on their own.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Okay, so think about the daily coffee habit. Maybe a couple of subscriptions you signed up for months ago and forgot about.
Oh, definitely guilty of that one sometimes.
Right. Or those impulse buys online. You click, it arrives, you barely remember ordering it. Or even just, grabbing takeout constantly because you're tired.
Individually, they seem so small. A few dollars here, 10 there.
Precisely. But they add up. They accumulate. And that's the slow leak. It just erodes your financial footing without you really noticing until you wonder where all the money went.
It touches on that idea in behavioral economics, doesn't it? Mental accounting. We don't always connect those little spends to the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
Nah.
We compartmentalize. That 3-pound coffee doesn't feel like it impacts the house deposit savings, but hundreds of those coffees certainly do.
So Leo wasn't broke, not really, but he had this financial fatigue, that sense of money just vanishing, no direction.
Mm-hmm. And that's incredibly common. We see people with good incomes feeling exactly the same way, stuck in that cycle.
Earning, spending, wondering where it went, repeat.
Yeah. And often the answer isn't just earn more. It's about being more deliberate, more intentional with the money you already have.
Okay, so what changed for Leo? There was a turning point, right, involving his cousin.
Yes, his cousin Nadia.
Right.
Now, she was a teacher, so, probably not earning a huge salary compared to some fields.
Right, a more modest income.
But somehow, Nadia had managed to achieve some pretty significant things financially.
Like what?
Well, she'd bought her own condo, she had a dedicated travel fund set up, she even had this little side business making candles or something similar.
Wow, on a teacher's salary. That's impressive. So Leo must have wondered.
He did. He finally asked her, how do you do it? And her explanation, it sounds simple, but it was actually quite profound.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What did she say?
Nadia's whole philosophy was basically this. Every dollar I earn, she said, has a job.
A job.
Yeah. I don't let money just sit around waiting to be spent. I give it purpose or, she said, it finds its own purpose, usually one I don't like.
Or it finds its own. That really hits home, doesn't it?
It really does. It's about being proactive, giving each pound, each dollar a specific role, not just passively watching it disappear.
That idea of giving money a job, it makes the pain of paying more real, too, maybe. If you're about to spend money assigned to, say, Japan trip, using it for something else feels more significant.
Exactly. It makes you pause and think, is this impulse purchase worth taking away from that goal I really care about?
So this was a total mindset shift for Leo. He'd been reactive, watching the leaks. Nadia was talking about being intentional.
It's the difference between aimless spending and consciously directing your resources, moving from just tracking where money went.
To actively deciding where you want it to go.
Precisely. Being the driver, not just the passenger, of your own finances.
So what did Leo do then? Did he immediately start tracking every penny, download a bunch of apps?
No.
Yeah.
Interestingly, he didn't jump straight into the complex systems. He did something much simpler first. He just sat down with a piece of paper,
Okay.
and he asked himself one really fundamental question. What do I actually want my money to do for me?
Actually, that's the key word there, isn't it? Not what society says or what looks good on Instagram.
Exactly. What do you personally value? What are your aspirations? Forget the trends for a moment.
So what came up for Leo? What did he actually want?
Well, his list was quite specific and personal. He had this long-held dream, apparently, of traveling to Japan.
Okay, big goal.
Yep. He also wanted the peace of mind of having a small emergency fund, just something to fall back on.
Makes sense. Very practical.
And he was into photography. He dreamed of taking a sabbatical, maybe a few months, just to focus purely on his creative work.
Oh, interesting. A creative goal.
And one more thing. He really wanted to treat his parents to a nice vacation. Just once, as a thank you.
Wow. So quite varied goals. Travel, security, creativity, generosity.
Exactly. And they were his goals.
Mhm.
Deeply personal, not just, save more money in an abstract way. They were connected to his values, his passions.
And that connection is where the motivation comes from, right? It's not just a number on a spreadsheet. It's Japan, it's photography, it's family.
Absolutely. That's the power. When the why is strong, the how becomes much easier to figure out.
So just writing that list down, did that start changing things?
Apparently, it had a huge impact. Suddenly, his money had a destination. It wasn't just about earning and spending anymore. It was about building towards something specific, building the life he actually wanted.
Okay, so the mindset shifted. But how did that translate into, day-to-day behavior? Did the temptations just disappear?
Not magically, no. The urge to grab that extra coffee or click buy now on some gadget didn't just vanish overnight,
But
but it became much, much easier for Leo to say no to those things.
why? What changed?
It wasn't about feeling restricted or deprived. That's the crucial difference. It was because he was making a conscious choice. He was choosing what he wanted to say yes to.
Yes to Japan, yes to the emergency fund, yes to the sabbatical.
Exactly. He had clarity on his priorities.
Those small, fleeting purchases suddenly seemed less appealing because they weren't aligned with the bigger things he truly valued.
It's like aligning your spending with your actual values. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. There's a great analogy used in the source material here. Think about going grocery shopping.
If you walk into a supermarket with no list, no plan, what happens?
Uh-oh. You grab whatever looks good. Maybe some random snacks, some ingredients that don't really go together.
Right. You end up with a cart full of stuff, but maybe not enough for actual meals.
Mm.
And you probably waste some of it because you bought things you didn't need or couldn't use.
Guilty as charged. Happens easily.
That's like aimless spending. Money goes out, you consume things, but at the end of the month, you look back and think, what did I actually achieve? Where did it all go? There's no real lasting nourishment for your financial goals.
Okay, I see the parallel. So the alternative.
The alternative is walking in with a list. Maybe you've planned some meals, budgeted for snacks.
Right, you know what you need.
You still leave with a full part, probably. But this time, it's intentional. Everything works together, you can make those nourishing meals, and there's far less waste.
And that's like giving your money purpose.
Exactly. You're making deliberate choices about what you're buying with your money. Not just the immediate thing, but progress towards those bigger, meaningful goals. It cuts down on that financial waste.
So how did Leo put this into practice day to day? Did he have dozens of bank accounts? Use complicated software?
It sounds like he kept it relatively simple, actually. He started creating these mental mini funds.
Mental mini funds, like envelopes in his head.
Sort of, yeah. One for Japan, one for emergencies, one for his photography sabbatical, maybe even one specifically labeled fun or joy.
So not necessarily separate physical accounts, but a clear mental allocation.
Exactly. He didn't need to overcomplicate it with elaborate systems right away. Just having that clear intention, knowing this portion of my income is for Japan, this bit is for emergencies, that was enough to guide his decisions.
That's interesting. So the mental shift was the most important part.
It seems so.
Yeah.
And even his fun money, the money for coffees or spontaneous treats, now had a defined boundary.
Ah, so it wasn't unlimited.
Right. But here's the interesting part. Having that limit actually gave him more freedom within it,
How so?
because he could spend that designated fun money without any guilt or worry. He knew it was planned for. It fit within the bigger picture, so he could genuinely enjoy it.
That makes sense. It removes the background anxiety that can sometimes come with spending, even on small things. Conscious spending, even for fun.
Precisely. It enhances the enjoyment because it's anxiety-free.
And what were the results for Leo? Did this actually work?
Oh, yeah. The source says the results were tangible. Within a few months, his whole mindset had shifted. He felt more in control.
And the goals, did he make progress?
He did. Within about 6 months, he actually booked that flight to Tokyo.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and not by racking up credit card debt or scrambling at the last minute. It was with money he had deliberately, intentionally saved by giving it that specific purpose.
That's fantastic. That's a really powerful example of how this works.
It really is.
Hmm.
It shows how having that clear purpose transforms money from just stuff that pays bills or a source of stress.
Into a tool, a concrete tool for actually building the life you want, achieving things.
Exactly. And there's a really important point the source makes here. This whole approach, it's not about guilt.
Right. It's not about beating yourself up for past mistakes or what you spent last year.
Not at all. That's counterproductive. It's purely about gaining clarity, getting direction for the future, for your next paycheck, your next spending decision.
Learn and move forward with intention.
Yes.
Yeah.
To use another good analogy, money without a plan is like water.
Water.
Yeah, it just finds any crack and disappears. It flows away easily.
Okay.
Purpose acts like the container. It holds the water, holds your money in place long enough for it to actually accumulate and create something meaningful and impact.
That's a great visual. Purpose is a container. Without it, the money just leaks away through those cracks we talked about earlier.
It stops the constant outflow without direction and allows your money to actually work for you, building towards those things you genuinely value.
So Leo's journey really took him from feeling a kind of lost financially, maybe just chasing the next paycheck,
To seeing real results. Not just numbers in an account, but a feeling of confidence, peace of mind, forward momentum.
because money without purpose,
Mhm.
it really is kind of wasted, isn't it? It might cover the basics, but it doesn't actively build anything beyond that.
It doesn't build the life you envision. But money with purpose, that's different.
That's where the power is. Building a legacy, maybe? Achieving real financial freedom, turning those dreams like Japan for Leo into reality.
And it's amazing how that relatively simple shift, just consciously giving every dollar a job, can ripple outwards and positively affect your whole financial well-being.
Definitely. So thinking about Leo's story, maybe it's a good time for listeners to pause and reflect. We want to leave you with a couple of questions, really.
Yeah, things to consider. First, what job do you actually want your money to have? If you sat down like Leo, what would be on your list?
And second, what are those personal financial goals? The ones that really mean something to you. The ones that could give your money that crucial sense of purpose.
Just taking some time to really think about those questions, that could be the most valuable first step. It clarifies your why.
Finding your why, that clarity can be the biggest motivator, can it?
Absolutely. It's the foundation for building that more intentional and ultimately much more rewarding relationship with your money.
We really hope this deep dive has given you some valuable food for thought today, some insights into making your money work more purposefully for you.
And if you are looking for more sort of practical tips, strategies, ways to get a handle on your finances,
Then definitely check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's called Finance Tips. We share lots of actionable advice there.
yeah, lots of good stuff over there. Remember that clarity on why you're saving or investing is often the secret sauce to actually achieving those goals.
Absolutely. And it's about progress, right? Not perfection. Every small intentional step you take, giving your money purpose, it all adds up over time. It makes a difference.
Definitely.
For more insightful discussions on cultivating a positive money mindset and building effective financial habits, do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Finance Tips. Thank you for listening to the Money Mindset and Habits podcast.